Hello, fabulous family, friends, whichever you'd like to be called. Sally the Seeker here. I hope you all are doing well. So I am continuing what I have now coined. I think I might have even put it on the last video as the title, something to the effect of the Marathon Cross-Examination of Detective Carpenter by pretend lawyer Darrell Doofus Brooks. So we're picking up where we left off. And the good news is, after this video, the next one that I'll have coming will be the conclusion of his cross-exam. I know, can you believe it? And then, I was going to say Detective Basie, but I mean Attorney Basie will do her redirect, which I don't even know if it was 5 minutes. That's because they're that good. And he just wastes time asking the same questions. So, yeah. But there's still kind of some good things. And it's like he doesn't know it, but Detective Carpenter, in my opinion, continues to mop the floor with Darrell. Though Darrell doesn't see it. He really thinks he's all slick with his oversized suit. Right now he's like squinting his eyes, and then sometimes the eyebrows will come up, and then sometimes you'll look up on the ceiling for a sticky or post-it notes. Hopefully, they're giving him a magical message, a secret message, who knows. But it's, my gosh, I can't believe I'm still so irritated with this man whom I've never met. But, oh well. So I've been trying to kind of get these last two put together. So I'm going to go ahead and say my hellos and goodbyes here at the beginning. So I want to thank you all so much for watching, commenting, subscribing. I'm really creeping closer to that 2K subscriber number. So if you're watching these and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I don't really ask that often because I don't really like to ask people for anything, but it doesn't cost a thing. And it will alert you to get more exciting content from me. Of course, that's from whomever's perspective. Hopefully some of you all. But anyhow, so before I'm going to give you a little recap of the end of the last video. But before that, I just want to tell you all again, thanks so much. Be safe, be happy, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself. I love you all. And now I'm going to do the recap. So at the end of the last video, Darrell was asking I keep wanting to call everybody a doctor, Detective Casey. He said, do you remember what you asked me at the beginning of the second interrogation? And so Darrell had said that Detective Carpenter, and I don't know, if I just called him Dr. Casey, just ignore it. I meant to say Detective Carpenter because I say Dr. Casey a lot. But there I go again with Doctor. Detective Carpenter. Detective Carpenter. Say it 3 times, maybe it'll stick. So he was asking Darrell, he was saying something about, because now they were talking about the Erica thing, the DV thing. And Detective Carpenter was kind of trying to, they were already kind of in a relaxed way of speaking to one another, talking about sports, all that kind of stuff. Darrell with his fake shoulder injury. But Detective Carpenter had said something to the effect of, well, you know how crazy women can be. I don't know if I'm saying it exactly, but something to that point. And so Darrell said, why did you ask that? And I think why did you ask that question? And here I go again, Dr. Ed, smack myself. Detective Carpenter said he was just trying to make it relatable. So that was that. So, okay, so that's where we are now, and then we're going to continue on with this video. I'm thinking it'd probably be fair to say that it probably does reflect on how Darrell feels about women. I mean, obviously we see how he treats them. Just saying.
Why did you feel that would have been necessary to build a report that you stated that you already felt that you had?
Because it was just being relaxed. I was relaxed. I didn't want to make you feel unnecessarily nervous. We had been, talking to each other in the casual conversation from the night before, very civilly, very openly about non-custodial topics. And I was just continuing to go along those lines. It wasn't anything other than to just communicate with you on a stiff level, relaxed level.
And do you feel, would it be fair to say that other comments could have been used to keep the detainee at ease?
Objection made.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
And what does this have to do with
Was
this
there
case?
any other conversational tools you could have used to keep the detainee at
Isn't that the
ease?
same question?
Objection, same.
Grounds.
Yeah, same. Sustained.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
That sounded like the same question to me. Ugh.
Perhaps, maybe.
What difference does it make?
So it'd be fair to say for the situation, you felt that
God.
the conversational tool you used would be more appropriate at that time?
So ask that one more time, please.
You felt that, would it be fair to say that you felt that at that time, the conversational tool that you used would be more appropriate for the situation?
I don't know that I was really thinking about appropriateness.
I was going to say.
Like I said, I was just conversing you on a normal person-to-person level was my intention at the time.
So it would be fair to say that you assumed that would put the detainee more at ease by starting the conversation with along those lines?
I wanted you to be relaxed. That's not anything that I did just specifically for you, Mr. Brooks. I always want people to be as relaxed as they can be. I want them to feel comfortable to talk to me if they are willing. It doesn't change the fact that ultimately I have to read Miranda. But I always want all the people I talk to feel comfortable and be willing and know that they can talk to me if they want to.
Speaking of Miranda, do you recall reading the Miranda rights in the second interrogation?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall how long into the interrogation before you read the Miranda rights?
Objection.
Grounds.
Objection, misstatement, and mischaracterization of the evidence.
Grounds.
Well, sustained as to the form of the question.
It would be fair to say that the second interrogation was pretty long. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall when in the second interrogation you read the Miranda rights?
Your Honor, I am going to object again to the form of the question.
Grounds.
The interrogation began, the court made a finding as to when the interrogation began prior.
I'm going to sustain the objection as to the form of the question. It calls for a legal conclusion.
He's still trying to do that legal conclusion.
Did you immediately start the second interrogation with the reading of Miranda rights?
No, that is not the first thing I stated to you. First, I explained to you what I was wishing to talk to you about.
And do you recall how long you were in that explanation phase of the interrogation?
Maybe around 15 minutes, 16 minutes.
So it'd be fair to say that you didn't read the Miranda rights till somewhere after already interrogating the detainee for 15 minutes at least.
Objection.
Grounds.
This statement.
Sustained. Calls for a legal conclusion.
Yep, see? He's trying and trying and trying. And he's wasting so much time trying to go for the same thing that has nothing to do, once again, of helping himself. I think what he's trying to do is to make Detective Carpenter look bad. Again, like he's the one on trial, which Judge Darrell already spoke to him about. But, you know, he's Darrell. So he's going to do Darrell. So let's let Darrell do Darrell.
States the testimony as well.
You read the Miranda rights after 15 minutes.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, thereabouts.
You're not going to phase
Do you
him.
recall why you didn't start the second interrogation with the Miranda
Oh,
rights?
Lord.
I'm not required to read them immediately, so those first 15 minutes were verifying your personal information, explaining that I now wish to talk to you about a domestic involving your girlfriend, and then I read them before asking you any specific questions about that event.
Bada boom.
Would it be fair to say that you had already obtained personal information the night before?
I think they have to do it each
I
time.
had, but I didn't have it in front of me, and I have to recomplete the whole Miranda sheet. So I had to refill out the top form of the sheet, which is your name, so I had to verify that.
So it'd be fair to say that you had obtained personal information that you didn't bring with you for the second interrogation?
Oh, Lord.
I did not have your information written down at that point. Yes.
Do you recall why at that time you didn't have the personal information that you had already obtained?
Oh, jeez.
No.
He has to fill out a different form.
No, as in,
I don't recall why I didn't have it.
These are stupid questions that are going to nowhere land. Dead end, dead end.
and you said you started off the second interview with information about domestic allegations. That'd be fair to say?
Yes, after reading Miranda, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, that's what he's
No,
trying to
Right.
do.
I don't know what are you asking then? Just so I'm clear.
The question was, again, you started off
He always...
second interrogation with domestic allegations.
No, after he got his information.
Yes, that was part of the beginning, explaining to you those allegations that had come forward.
Explaining.
Things I didn't know about the night before.
Don't try, Darrell. You're just going to look dumb. You're wasting
Any
time.
reason why you wouldn't explain the real reason why the detainee was being detained?
At that point, the domestic was part of the real reason why you were being held in custody.
Did you have any more knowledge about the incident from the previous night at that time?
Are you referencing the parade aspect of it?
Yes.
At that point, yes, I did.
And why wasn't that information given to the detainee at that time?
As I explained in my earlier testimony, the idea behind the second interrogation was I began with the domestic abuse issues, questioned you about those, and then moved into the parade aspect of the investigation.
And why not start with all the information you knew?
Objection, relevance.
Grounds.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Oh, Lord.
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Why would you not start the second interrogation with the information that you knew?
In regards to the parade?
In regards to all the information that you had at the time.
Well, as I stated again in my earlier testimony,
Once again.
as we began the second interrogation, I explained it was about a domestic with your girlfriend, Erica Patterson. But again, I can't give you all the details because part of gauging truthfulness and avoiding I'm not leading you is not telling you every single thing. I told you she alleged there were physical injuries, but I can't really tell you what they were because I want to see if you're going to be honest and tell me what they were. Additionally, telling you what the injuries were as far as Mr. Patterson could cause you to create a lie to avoid those. And it's the same issue with the parade.
Like, that's the thing about Darrell. He thinks, he's in his oversized attorney suit, playing dumb attorney, and Detective Carpenter has already explained. I think Darrell just believes, again, they're on the same playing field, they're on the same level, and perhaps Darrell is a little bit higher because that's how much he loves himself. And he thinks that Detective Carpenter is supposed to give him all the information, but that's not how you interrogate. He doesn't have to do all that, but Darrell feels like, I think he's acting like, and to me it seems like he feels like, he's, because like he was like, you lied to me. Remember when he was being interrogated, he said that. And it's like, no, this is how they interrogate. I love how he always does this with everyone. Wouldn't it be better to do so-and-so than a report? When he, everything. He always thinks he has this better idea when he has no idea. He's clueless. Okay, I'm done for now.
Did you speak to the complainant of the domestic allegations at that time?
The use of the word complainant.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Yes.
Had you spoken with Ms. Patterson about the alleged domestic allegations?
I did not.
So it'd be fair to say that you, at that time, didn't know if they were true or not?
No, that wouldn't be fair to say.
And why would that not be fair to say?
Well, hold on. It's for this jury to determine the facts of this case, including the domestic allegations. So I'm not going to let a witness comment on his belief or not on any other witness's testimony or information. Fair enough?
I apologize.
All right. Next question.
Apologizing. That's too weird. Apologize to the victims.
Had you at any time before the second interrogation spoke with Ms. Patterson?
No.
Barking up the wrong tree.
You made reference, I believe it was in both interrogations, to reading. It was in reference to the Miranda rights.
Oh, Lord, not again.
Stating that if I was at home on my couch, do you recall making that statement?
Yes.
And what do you mean by that? At home on my couch. What do you mean by that?
Well, Miranda is strictly custody based, so I could interrogate you or question you about a matter in which you were a suspect at your home, and I would not be required to read those warnings. Being we were in custody, we were at the Muskego Police Department. You've been handcuffed, you've been transported. Custody was obvious. I'm required by law, therefore, to read you those rights based on you being in custody.
Can you put the Miranda thing to rest,
You made a
please?
reference to it that that's a requirement by law. In custody, you have to read those by law.
Objection. Relevance for this hearing.
Please.
I'm going to sustain that objection. I believe it's also been answered. So,
Yeah, he's
next
really
question.
beating a dead horse.
Do you recall if those Miranda readings are to be at the beginning of interrogation?
This has been asked and answered as well.
Yes, thank
Sustained.
you.
It has. Yes.
It's again and again and again.
It also calls for a legal conclusion, which is not appropriate.
She's
Next
already
question.
talked to you about it, Darrell. Keep moving. I'm agitated if y'all can't tell.
In the first interrogation, you spoke of the detainee being detained for loitering and prowling. Did you make reference to that in the second interrogation?
No, I did not.
Any reason why?
By the time of the second interrogation, the primary focus had shifted to the domestic incident between yourself and Erica Patterson, and also the parade, because by this point I had more information about the parade and that incident specifically.
So what happened to the initial loitering and prowling allegations? Why were they discarded?
At that point, they were not the primary concern.
Duh.
Eventually, the interrogation came to a stalemate, so to speak, and we didn't discuss it. The primary concern was the domestic issue between you and Ms. Patterson, which at the time I began to start the first interrogation, I didn't know anything about. And then the fact I now had more knowledge on the parade.
So do you recall who made the decision for the loitering and prowling allegations to be discarded?
Oh, Lord.
Your Honor,
Come
I
on.
think that mischaracterization of the testimony, the fact that it wasn't charged isn't on this officer.
I didn't say anything about it being
Assume
charged.
facts not in evidence, and for the other reasons indicated by the state, I'll sustain the objection.
Yeah,
Just
just
for the record, I didn't say anything about it being charged.
pipe
Understood.
down.
My ruling stands, even with that.
He's just
So
wasting
would it be
time.
fair to say that
Oh, God.
in both interrogations you gave different reasons why the detainee was being detained?
The explanations that I explained to you did change. However, again, the domestic was not known at the time, so that circumstance changed a bit. That became something that was of importance to us. Domestic abuse is taken seriously. And again, there was more knowledge about the parade.
Yeah, that's, he's just wasting time. He's got to come up with some better questions. Didn't your attorneys leave some better questions for you there? Your former attorneys, which you should have kept.
Would it be fair to say that because of the change in information between the first interrogation and the second interrogation that can be misleading?
No.
Objection calls for speculation from whose perspective?
Right.
Sustained it as to the
Yeah,
form of the question.
you're getting really bad with these questions, Darrell. Look up at your sticky notes. Do you see anything up there that's going to tell you anything?
Is it fair to say that someone who is being detained would perceive that as being misleading when there's two different reasons why they're being detained that is told to them?
Objection, speculation. This witness cannot know what is in someone else's mind.
Calls for speculation.
Yeah, and you did all those things, so there's nothing misleading. You did all of those things.
At any point in the interrogations, did you knowingly lie about the information that you had?
There was information I withheld from you, yes.
So it'd be fair to say that you lied.
Objection mischaracterizes this officer's answer.
It's argumentative, sustained as to the form
Yeah,
of the
you need
question.
to stop,
Just for the
Darrell.
record, there is a point in there where you
Sustained
stated
in
that
the
he
form of the
lied.
question.
Yeah, just, you know what? You need to stop.
Why did you continue to withhold information repeatedly?
Because he wants to get more out of you.
I guess at which point? Through the whole, are we talking about in the middle of the second interrogation at this point? What
Do both
are we talking about?
interrogations. Do both of them.
Both of them.
Well, there really wasn't a first one, because when I got interrogation doesn't truly begin until I'm asking you incriminating questions potentially after you've agreed to waive your rights and speak, something you didn't do on the first day. On the second one, quite honestly, it goes back to what I stated in my earlier testimony. I wanted to make sure the information I was getting from you was truthful. I wanted to make sure that I didn't lead you down a path of potential lies. And third, quite frankly, Mr. Brooks, I didn't believe if I gave you the information you were going to tell me anything.
You made reference to the first interrogation saying that there was no waiver of that interrogation.
Objection.
I'm referring to what he just said at the beginning of the answer.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Next question.
Grounds for the sustain.
Next question.
You're not a lawyer. That's the problem.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor.
Next question.
I can't get no grounds. Okay.
Yeah, you can't get no grounds. Move on. So don't y'all wonder what Darrell does in his cell all night before court? Obviously, he doesn't review any of the files, and he knows that these people are going to testify. And I mean, Detective Carpenter has already done all this testimony, so he could have been spending all his nights, thinking of better questions than the ones he asked. But maybe he realizes, hey, I'm just going to end up in prison. Obviously, well, he might still think there's a way. I guess probably he does think that, but he's also thinking that what do I have to lose? So I'm going to drag this out. But it seems like, but he has no shame, though. He's not like, he's not embarrassed of his stupid questions and his behavior. No, he is not at all. But you just think or else he's just sitting there, maybe he's thinking of what things can I do to aggravate everything. But again, he's got to remember that the jury is watching him. I think he thinks, and he thought that the jury was convinced, which is so ridiculous. But as I say, it's neither here nor there. Let's continue on. What do you got now?
So you made reference to not being sure if you would. I'm trying to remember exactly what you said. You wasn't sure if you were going to get the information you were seeking?
Correct.
And is that what led you to lie about the information you knew?
Objection. This characterizes the testimony.
Grounds.
Sure
It's
does.
argumentative, sustained.
Seriously, Darrell.
Did that lead you to not be forthright about the information you knew?
Objection. Argumentative.
Sustained is to the form of the question. His words were that he withheld.
That led you to withhold information that you
Look
had
at his
to say?
eyes getting all wide and crazy.
I'm sorry, did what part with all that? Can you restart the question?
Because you were not sure if you were going to get the information you were seeking, that led you to withhold information that you had obtained?
Well, again, as I've stated in prior testimony,
Again.
strong part of the reason I withheld information is I wanted to gauge how honest and truthful you would be. I think it's important to know you lied to me, and this was proven by evidence about your mother owning a vehicle.
Sorry, guys.
You lied about coming out here in a tan possible Kia. So there were lies that were told at this point. You lied about being body slammed by officers. That was later
Hold on.
proven to
I
be
wanna
not true.
Advise the jury of a couple different things at this point. Obviously, ultimately, the juror will determine the credibility of all witnesses and the weight of the testimony to give for any witness. So whatever any person's opinion about the testimony or previous statements or information from another individual, I'm telling you, is not evidence. You need to determine for yourselves what the facts are in this case. And the other thing I want to remind the jury of is that an accused has the right to remain silent, and when that silence cannot be used against him, since there was a comment earlier. To the extent that it was commented on, I'm going to instruct the jury to disregard that as well. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, continuing. So it just was that.
It's narrative at this point. He's going to ask his next question.
Okay.
If the state needs to redirect, they will.
You made reference to, well, let me back up from there.
Oh, please don't.
Is it standard practice in your agency to withhold information in an interrogation?
How many times are we going to go over this?
Yes, it can be to gauge truthfulness.
And what do you mean by it can be?
So obviously, so a person understands what's going on, you'll give them the basics of why you want to question them.
I'm sorry,
but
I have to
you're never going
adjust
to tell
this,
them every
guys.
detail because you want to see if they're being truthful. You want to see what details come out.
Makes sense?
So, would it be fair to say by saying that it can be means that it's not all the time used in that fashion?
Oftentimes it is. Oftentimes there's information that I won't tell a suspect unless, it's something where I've actually caught the suspect in the act and we both saw the same things. But yes, typically if I want to make sure they're telling truth, if there's certain information I have, I will withhold that. I'll see if they're willing to provide that, and if not, at some point confront them with that information.
You had a partner with you during both investigations, but I'm referring to the second one primarily. Would that officer have used the same method if they were taking the lead in the investigation at that point?
Objections, calls for
Speculation.
speculation.
Oh,
Sustained is the
hey, I
form
can
of
be an
question.
attorney. Speculation. I called it.
Would it be fair to say
Y'all could have
that,
too.
that the way you interrogate is your method specifically?
Yes.
What does it matter?
So it'd be fair to say that that is not standard policy of your agency.
Policy? Oh, he's trying to do the policy thing.
Correct.
He really thinks he's onto something. He really believes he's onto something. No, it's not sad. It's actually hilarious.
You made reference to the suspect's family. Specifically, I'm referring to the children. How were you able to come into the knowledge of the suspect's children?
I believe I asked you about them.
I'm referring specifically to where they lived at the time of the incident?
That was information that came afterwards. Well, actually, yeah, I don't recall. I don't remember if you told me specifically where your older daughter lived that day or not.
Well, we be fair to say we saw a lot of the second interrogation. Would that be fair to say?
Portions of it.
Well, yeah, portions of it, but a lot of it.
I don't know exactly how much we watched. That's really, I guess it depends on your definition of a lot.
At any time, do you recall it being stated where the defendant's children lived?
Not that I can recollect watching today.
Had you seen that video before today? The
Yes.
second interrogation?
Yes.
Have you seen it in its entirety?
Yes.
What is your point? Oh boy, we're gonna flop through the papers now.
Do you recall? Well, scratch that. In reference to the second interrogation, in reference to finding the phone, did you ever find the phone of the detainee?
You're asking if I personally did?
Yes.
I didn't know.
Do you recall where the phone was recovered?
In your vehicle.
When you say your vehicle, who are you referring to?
Your mother's red Ford Escape that you were driving that day.
So it'd be fair to say it wasn't my vehicle, as you stated.
Oh Lord.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Yeah, really.
And what was obtained from that phone, if you recall?
I don't recall.
Do you recall asking for the code to get into the phone?
Yes, sir, I do.
At any time, did you learn at any time if the phone was able to be opened up?
I don't know if it was or not.
So what would be your reason to ask about the phone code if you didn't intend to open it up?
Objection mischaracterizes the testimony.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Did you yourself intend to inspect the phone?
No.
So why would you ask for the code?
Well, because for the purpose of the investigation, we have people that are trained in doing that types of thing, getting into the phone, downloading the digital evidence if they're able. So having the code would assist them in being able to do that when that time came.
And do you recall if it was more than one phone that you were attempting to access?
Yes.
Did you ask for the code for, well, back up, how many phones were you seeking to gain access to?
I believe it was 2.
And do you recall asking for the code for the second phone?
Yes.
Did you inspect the second phone?
Me personally?
Yes.
No.
And from your recollection, what would be the significance of the phones at that point in the investigation?
Well, it's really this digital evidence that could be inside. So, as it pertains to domestic abuse, it's not known if there's going to be any phone calls between yourself and Ms. Patterson. Some of the data, location data, can be relevant. Although you were arrested in Waukesha, it still helps to show that data as well. So, things of that nature. We really don't know what could or could not help us until we try to see what's in there.
At any time during the first night that you were with the detainee and during the second day, which would primarily be the second interrogation, do you recall there being any drugs and alcohol in related to the detainee?
As in whether you were under the influence?
Yes.
No, you were not.
And do you know that to be fact?
There were no signs of impairment that I observed.
Did you smell any alcohol?
No, sir.
Did you smell any drugs?
No, sir.
Did you find any alcohol or drugs?
No, sir.
But you still ran through the parade and you tried to run over Erica.
And during both those days, that the night of the first interrogation and the time spent during the second interrogation, someone was always with you when you had contact with the detainee. Would that be fair to say? Meaning you never had interactions with the detainee just strictly by yourself.
Not that I recall.
So it was always you and someone else.
I believe so.
Well, you were always with your partner, though, correct?
Well, I mean, he may have used the bathroom at a point. I don't remember. If I was ever alone, it was very short.
But from the best of your recollection, you were just never, for a period of time, just by yourself with the detainee.
The second day before transport, there was a period of time when Detective Stern stepped out of that interview room at Muskego. And I don't know how long it was just you and I in the room, but that's all I recall.
But nothing extended from your recollection.
No.
And was it your belief at the time that you were set to conduct the second interrogation that you believe that without the FBI present, the detainee would likely be more willing to speak with you?
Objection, speculation.
Grounds.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Was it your belief that the second interrogation without the FBI's presence, was it your belief that the detainee would be more likely to speak with you at that time?
He may answer. Go ahead.
Yes.
And do you recall how you came to that determination?
Yes, it was a sense of how I felt you interacted with me, the night before. As I stated with you, or stated in testimony, we had casual conversations. Part of those casual conversations were talking about the sports you played, the sports you enjoyed, the Packer game that day. You seemed very calm, very relaxed. How you seem right now, Mr. Brooks. And I sensed the nervousness with the FBI being present. I thought you might be comfortable talking with me, and that's why I decided to just have it me and Detective Stern.
You made reference to how I seem right now would be consistent with how I seemed that first night. How would you be able to tell that just by observation?
Oh, gosh.
Calm, lucid, your speech is clear. You seem to be knowing what you want to ask. I understand there's been some questions that have been clarified, but you know where you are and you know what you're doing right now.
Would it be fair to say that you can't say for sure how I'm feeling at this moment?
Not the question that was asked, and argumentative.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Would it be fair to say that at the time of that first interrogation, you weren't sure how I was feeling?
I guess I can't get in your head, but you presented yourself as being very calm and very comfortable.
Based on your observation?
Correct.
Do you yourself have any training in psychology?
Oh, gosh.
No, sir.